Good morning, people online. We're coming to you live from Nairobi at the November 3rd, 2017 Learning and Development Roundtable. So we're going to start with some housekeeping and a brand new icebreaker using these story cubes. And we hope that you join us. So I'm just going to give this to you. So you just pointed at me then? So you just want to turn the camera so that you can see me. Okay. Okay, so welcome everybody. I always think it's a, when you get on the compound, is it okay? So welcome. We have Brizan standing by live in London. For those of you online, we'll point the camera at his lovely face when he's talking. So just a couple of quick housekeeping things. I have a couple of thank you cards. There's 3 people that help make this process happen, and once a year I like to give them a thank you card for helping get everyone on the compound. So I'll pass these around. If you can sign them at some point, that would be great. Also, name tag policy. Know that we're charged 300 shillings for your name tags, after you RSVP. So whether you show up or not, we have to pay that. So if you're able to donate 1,000 shillings, that would be great. Anything under that is always appreciated. Minimum 300 if you can do it, but if that affects your ability to participate, don't worry. So I'll have this envelope here to collect. My phone number's on there as well, so you can M-Pesa if that's easier. And thanks to those of you who've done that. And speaking of donations, we donate 100% of the money minus the cost for the name tags to an educational organization once a year, and it's the time for you guys to pick that. So we have a Google form that people will fill out to nominate an organization. Welcome, Claire. So start thinking about if you know of an educational-based organization that you'd like to receive the funds. We've got about 35,000 shillings now for the year, and that's not including today and next November's meeting as well. So is there anyone who's interested in helping with that process, just kind of editing the Google form? And would anybody want to do that? Okay, you can let me know if so. And watch for that link in the next email. And be thinking about who should get this money, right? What happens is people nominate an organization, and then hopefully at the next meeting, based on whichever organization gets the most votes, gets the money. Speaking of upcoming sessions, our next session, finally, we have Anne Miltenberg who does branding for social change agencies. Been trying to get her for about a year, so super excited about having her. And I'm looking for ideas for January's networking session. I found this interesting tool. It's called a community canvas, and I wondered if that would be interesting. I don't know if anyone looked at that on the agenda. I put the link there. If you have ideas for speakers that you want to have next year, or topics that you want to have, or ideas for networking sessions, please come see me. Does anyone have an idea right now for a session topic? You're not warmed up. You're very quiet. Everyone needs some caffeine. Okay. Also, I attached some information about a board member opportunity, an organization that's looking for board members. That's in the Facebook group. So if you're looking to volunteer, it's Dignitas, and all the information is there. So check out the Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, just click on the link to join, and as soon as I see that, I'll click you, and then you're in. Okay, any questions at all about logistics or process before we do a quick round of introductions and an icebreaker, and then we'll head over to Brizan to talk? No. Okay. Are you tired? Has it been like a really tough week? Are you just like, oh, the weekend, I need the weekend to be here? Okay, well, let's go around and do introductions. So if you can say your name and a role that you play. The role can be your professional role, it can be a hobby, it can be whatever you wish it to be. And once we do that, then we'll divide up into some small groups and use these. They've never been used before. You are the first people to use my brand new story cubes. Do you know these, Claire? Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay, good. So I'm going to turn. So I'll just start. So my name is Leanne Reagan. I'm the founder and facilitator of this roundtable. And a role I play is to keep my head contained right now because I'm redesigning and redeveloping my website. And it's excruciatingly difficult, super fun and creative and overwhelming and scary and exciting all wrapped into one. So sometimes I feel like my head is exploding, but very fun. Josephine, do you want to go next?
My name is Josephine. I came in through an organization called Interhealth, but they closed down. So I'm here on my personal capacity.
Interhealth closed down?
Yes.
I did not know that. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Great. And just before Audrey goes, I want to say a welcome to Julie and Marianne, who are online with us. And if you want to introduce yourself at some point, you can tap that into create a comment there. We'd love to have your introduction. And if you just want to be in the background and be quiet, that's okay too. It's totally up to you. But welcome to people online. Audrey.
Hi everyone, my name is Audrey. I'm a student at USAID.
What are you studying?
I'm doing Masters in Counseling Psychology.
Oh, Master's in Counseling Psych. That's a tough degree. Okay, good for you. Wow, welcome. Okay, Claire?
I'm there. I think I'm in a personal main role, but at this point in time, the one that kind of consumes me most is the role of trying to find an important role for myself, a useful role for myself, living in Kenya.
Nice. Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace. I'm from Stromstad. I'm a facilitator.
Welcome.
Can I ask what that is?
Can you guys speak up a little bit? Because you're saying super important things and I want to make sure that these guys can hear you. Yeah.
I'm a facilitator at Stromstad. We train nannies in early childhood education.
Great. Jeffrey.
Hello everyone, this is my first time to be here. I'm Geoffrey Ngul. I work for the Solutions to Bosco. I'm a teaching coordinator.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Janet Kirubi. I volunteer at Independent Disabled Persons of Kenya.
Nice. Great. That's so great that you volunteer for them.
Yeah.
That's admirable. Welcome, Janet. Thanks for coming. Okay, so if you want to just point that up, please. So I have these lovely story cubes. These are new to me. You can get all different sort of themes. These are kind of your basic themes. So I'm going to invite you to divide up into two groups. And know that Bruzan is standing by, and we're going to do an introduction of him really soon. So Bruzan, maybe like 10 more minutes, if you can hang in there.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thanks. Basically, there are dice that have different stories on them. So in your small group, when it's your turn, just roll your die. So I'm going to give you like 3 die each. So I've got here a key, a moon, and the world. Okay, came up. So I'm going to say start the story by once upon a time, and somehow build in a key, a world, and a moon. So I'd say something like, once upon a time, there was this elderly woman who'd lived a great life and had many adventures. And her grandchildren would sit at her feet, and she would tell them the keys to a successful life as she talked about her worldwide adventures as the moonlight streamed through the window. Okay, so something like that. If that seems overwhelming, you can use them however you want. So don't feel like. And to you guys online, you and I are going to play. So just hang on for a second here. Okay, so there's 3 for you guys, and 3 for you guys. So give each person a try, a chance, and then we'll come back. So about 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to play with the people online, see how this goes. Okay, so here are, so Julie and Marianne, if you're there, you can leave a comment. And I'm just going to roll the die in just a sec. I'm going to bring you up on another screen because I don't think I can see the comments on my phone for some reason. So just hang in there. So I'm just bringing you up on this screen here. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, look, we have comments. This is so great, you guys. I'm so excited. So one thing I've learned with Facebook Live, I can't see the comments on the phone that, or the thing that is doing the recording. So, Brizanne, welcome Adam, welcome Caroline, welcome Julie. Oh, we're so happy to have you. It's so exciting. Brizanne, if you want Peter to join, he needs to be a member of the group. This is a private group. So just ask him to click the link and I will approve him and then he can join. Okay, so to Adam and Caroline and Julie and Marianne, I'm going to roll the dice. Okay, so I'm going to point the camera to the die here. Okay, so you guys have a little saying bubble. I don't know what that is. I don't know. You guys can, I don't know. Oh, bridge. It's a bridge, I guess. And a magnifying glass. So does somebody online want to make a comment about any of those things? I'll show them to you again. I'll just leave. So you could maybe introduce yourself with one of those items on the die. Anyone want to go for it online? Anybody? Adam, Caroline, Julie, Brizanne, do you want to take a stab at one of them? Do you want to introduce yourself using one of these little die here that you can you see it on the camera that I'm showing on Facebook Live? There's a little. Yeah, I can see. Okay. Do you want to introduce yourself using one of those? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, so feel free to say pass. In writing or in just saying? You can do either. Oh, and actually, I want to say Adam talked about, I'm looking forward to crossing the cultural bridge from Australia to Kenya, which is awesome, Adam, because you know we've got the bridge there, so that's wonderful. Awesome. Okay, Brizanne, do you want to talk about one of those little die? Or do you... I can't see the dice. Okay, so if you're looking at Facebook Live, yes. There, can you see the die? There's a little thought bubble, a bridge, and a magnifying glass. Yes, I can see them. Okay, so if you want to use one of those to introduce yourself, like Adam said, I'm looking forward to crossing the cultural bridge from Australia to Kenya. Yeah, I can use the middle one to introduce myself as a bridge. Okay. And in my life, I've always wanted to be a bridge and to change something, to take people from one point to another. And that is the work that I am doing, to be a bridge for a nomadic child from Wisconsin to a more stable kind of lifestyle. Nice, perfect. Welcome. And thank you. Adam, I noticed, Adam, you're talking about crossing the cultural bridge. Adam, are you in Australia or are you in Kenya right now? Just curious to know if you feel like answering that question. Hang on. Sorry, you said you're new to Nairobi at 6 weeks. Okay, great. Well, we hope that we can, if you're in Nairobi, we hope that we can see you physically at a... Are you in Australia or are you in Kenya right now? Brizanne, if you don't mind muting, we're getting some feedback there. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Anybody else want to take a turn at one of the die there, or do you want me to? Should I shake them again? Maybe I'll shake them again. We'll get another one here. Okay. Okay. So if anyone wants to comment on an arrow, a hand, or an abacus. Hi, Lucy. Welcome. For some of you, it says add. So I'm just going to add you there. Suzanne, it says add. I don't know why some people it says add. And anyone want to talk about one of those die? And just to the larger group that's physically present here, we're just going to finish up in just a second. So make sure that everyone had a turn? Are you on your last person? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Are you guys on your last person? Okay, good. Okay. Okay, anybody online? It's okay. I know it can be hard to comment online, but if you feel like it, please wave hello. Let's see. Let me see if I can do one here. I'm excited. Oh, hey, Mike. Good morning. Good morning. You're so welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Oh, Mike, if you can see the camera that's pointing at the die, feel free to make a comment on one of those die, the arrow, the abacus, or the hand. And if it feels like that's way too hard on a Friday morning, don't worry about it. Don't stress. We don't want your blood pressure to go up. So in just a second, I'm going to turn it over to Brizan. He's going to talk for a few minutes, about 15 minutes, on serving pastoralist children, working with pastoralist kids, and then we're going to divide up into small groups. So for the folks online, if you haven't already, you can take a look at the agenda, which I posted in the Roundtable Facebook group, and yeah, be prepared to have a chat about serving vulnerable communities, whether they're pastoralists or not. Okay, so if I can have the large group bring your attention back to have the small groups bring their attention back to the large groups. Okay, and I'm just going to make the screen larger for Brizan here so everyone can see his lovely face. He's joining us. It's 3 hours earlier in London, so why don't we give him a round of applause? He was up pretty early to join us. And I just want to briefly say that I had the pleasure of meeting Brizan at a social innovation safari where we were in the same small group together, and I was captivated by his passion and his dedication towards working with really tough to reach kids that are in Turkana in northwestern Kenya. So he's going to talk for a few minutes about that experience, and then we're going to divide up into small groups again. Today is a networking session. If this is new for you, every second meeting roughly we have a networking session, which is where we spend the bulk of our time in small groups talking about a topic, and then we'll come together again at the end to kind of recap some of the things. There's a lot of different ways to define vulnerable communities, so don't feel like you have to talk about serving pastoralist people. You can talk about any kind of vulnerability or community that is challenged. So I'm going to turn it over to Brizan. We're so happy you're here. Thanks for getting up early and fighting the cold there. He's having a bit of a challenge adjusting to the cold temperatures in London. So welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Regan, and everyone who is there. So happy indeed. It's a challenge for me to adapt to this new weather. You can imagine from Lodwar, where the list is around 32, 33, coming to a place where this morning is around 4 degrees. So you find it very challenging, really. It's a climate shock. I want to thank you all for accepting to listen to this concept of the new narrative. The new narrative is a story about a Turkana child, and more specifically, a Turkana girl child. All the stories we have heard about Turkana have always been negative. Every time something about Turkana is said, it's always a raid, it's always a cattle rustling, it's always hunger, and every time the government of Kenya declares a state of like a hunger, Turkana has never missed the headlines. And so the new narrative is an idea that we came up with to try to change this kind of narrative. I don't want to take you into like a geographical description of Turkana because we are all, I'm sure we are all aware of where Turkana is and what are the challenges in terms of climatic, in terms of borders, because borders is one of the biggest challenge for a Turkana child, considering that we have porous borders. Ethiopia, we are bordered by the rebels from the Ethiopian government, the Marili, and then from Sudan, the same case, and then from Uganda, you have had us fighting with the West Pokot every time. And I'm happy in this discussion, we are also joined by Caroline Waituika, who is joining on Facebook, and she works for SIDAI, and SIDAI has been one of the development partners in Turkana to try to see how to improve cattle rearing and animal rearing and having a value-added kind of livestock keeping. But for the purpose of the time that we have this morning, I just want to tell you what does it mean to be a Turkana child and what does education mean to a Turkana person. The level of education, according to the existing statistics in the country, Turkana is the lowest. And it's the lowest because we have poverty, we have insecurity, we have droughts, and we have inadequate standard of assistance to schools. You'll find that Turkana and the most part of the northern Kenya, of course, are some part of other parts of Kenya, but you find that Turkana has been neglected for long. Why? Because even professional staff, quality professional staff, are not willing to work in Turkana because of insecurity. And more and frequent droughts have always contributed to poor turnout in schools. And so all efforts by the government to have boarding schools in the district, in the county, have not really bore fruits, because you find that these are nomadic pastoralist communities that have to move from mountain A to mountain B, looking for water and animals for their animals. So for what value, for what importance do we have these boarding schools, when in the real sense, these boarding schools are not nomadic in nature, that they cannot move with these communities? And so you find that our boarding schools have become a feeding centers for nomadic pastoralist children as they move and transit to other feeding areas. And so this does not bring out the academic education in these children, because there's poor connection in the academic, and then there's poor follow-up in their learning. And of course, most importantly, when you look at the current statistics of the UNDP, you will find that the rate of children who begin primary school in Turkana and the rate of children who complete primary school is a big gap. And what explains that gap is the fact that these children are constantly moving with their parents. And so as they move with their parents, they are in the process missing education, missing connection, and missing those other things. But most stunningly, you find that girls are the most affected, especially during droughts. And now that we have had rains, you will find that there will be a lot of marriages. And many of these young girls, as young as 8, as young as 9, as young as 11, you'll be surprised to hear that in Kenya in the 21st century, a girl as young as 11 years is being married off. These things are still happening up to now. And they're being married off because the family lost a lot of animals during drought period. And now that it has rained, the girl has to be married off so that the families get back some of the animals to start again restocking back the animals. And so this has to change. A Turkana girl has to be really empowered. And that's why you find that even now, currently, you'll find that the only professionals, majority of the professionals who have PhDs, masters, and other high academic standards, majority of them are male. And the few female who have such academic credentials, these are people whose parents were in urban setups, whose parents worked for the colonial governments, whose parents were either chiefs and so on. But now this has left a nomadic child, a nomadic girl child, without a title, and most of them have nothing to show. And so this is one of the challenges that is even affecting these children, that in those remote areas, they have no a role model, that they have no a professional female person that they can look up to. They have no professional female person who has done something in their rural home that other parents can say, I want you when you grow up to buy for me a house, to build for me a house like that one. That motivates small children. And when these small children are motivated at an early age, these children start learning education. And as they start learning education, then they start changing their mind. Because the biggest challenge here is, how do we change the mind of a nomadic person to embrace education? How do we change the mind of this parent who believes that a girl child is a source of wealth? How do we change the mind of this community that believe that when these children are socialized the modern way, when they go to urban centers, when they go to big towns, these children are going to get HIV and AIDS. These children are going to be spoiled. These children are going to forget their culture. And so it's not just about building these schools. It's not just about government policies. It's about getting into these people, getting into the community, informing the community, and to start changing the attitudes of the community. And so that is why we are beginning this project of the new narrative. We have an old narrative about education. We have an old narrative about Turkana. We have an old narrative about how things were being done. And so we want to change this. And for us to change this, we want to accept the facts. We want to accept the failures. We want to accept the realities. Considering that pastoralist community has not benefited favorably from the process and the outcome of policy educational development in Kenya. Usually they are ignored. Even when they are considered, pastoralism is viewed as with a lot of skepticism. People have not appreciated pastoralism. And so in this regard, development planners have tried to change pastoralism. They have tried to make pastoralism look as a total failure. How do you term a livelihood that people have survived for all generations, and then you just come all of a sudden and tell the community that whatever you are doing is wrong? You need to stop pastoralism. You need to embrace education. You need to do all these things. And that's why in the United Nations Development Program, which is one of the part of the slides that I was to present today, maybe Lee can show that on up.
I'm just bringing it up, Rizan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think it's the third slide, I think so.
Third slide, okay.
Next.
Okay.
Sorry, stop there. That I could have explained to you, that is the map of Turkana. And when you look at that map, I want us to look at the top map. We have a part that is called Ilemi Triangle. That is the part that all of us understand that is a distributed piece of land. It's something that many people will not tell you. It's something that even the Kenyan government does not want to touch about it. And so that is the part that is green. That is the part that has at least some grass and good fertile soils. And every time you hear about cattle raids and the killings in Turkana, majority of that happens in that place. Of the recent, a church was attacked, and in that church, they killed children. Children who have been taken by that church in Todonya just for education, for learning. And so the community from Ethiopia attacked that church and killed children and the people who were accessing education. And that can tell you how the community up there is totally against education and modern form of livelihood. Next slide, please. So that shows like a description of the land, how the land is, how vulnerable the community is, and how vulnerable the children are. And so I can try to equate the situation of education and that there is no support, that there is a lot of insecurity, that there is a lot of obstacles even to access this education. Next slide, please. And so what I was talking about is the United Nations Development Program, UNDP 2009, in its sessional paper, they said that pastoralists have been ill-served by development policies and actions so far, since planners have almost, without exception, tried to convert pastoralists into something else, judge them as not modern, not progressive, and more unproductive. And this is because of their lifestyle is being viewed as not in tune with advancement. And so you find that this failure in the education programs and policies to address the pastoral question has led to negative impact and the slow process of change among the pastoralists. And this is one of the things I was really talking about, that when we try to change the pastoralist kind of life, and this was through my personal experience. When I began teaching, I went to schools and I went to communities and I started telling people, stop this pastoralism. And I want to tell you the other thing, the next thing I saw, because I was posted to a school that had buildings from class 1 to 8, it's not that we don't have these buildings. We have these buildings in place, we have structures in some places. So when I went to this community, a community that has class 1 to 8 buildings, of course these are in semi-urban centers, it had only 32 children in this school. And of the 32 children, majority of these children, 20 children, were in class 1. So you can imagine the other classes had 1 to 3 children. And these children in class 1 were just being put there because the parent, either the mother has gone to look for water, the father has taken animals somewhere. So you find that the concept of education was not even there. Is that a school was a refuge center where these children could just come, wait for their mother to come back from the water point at lunchtime, get a little food from one food program and go home. And so this is a classic example whereby the policies are trying to come in and forcing things to this community, to these pastoralist communities. And in all these policies, it was deemed that pastoralism was not productive and therefore a form of economic and lifestyle which was to be abandoned altogether. So in the recent past, however, the free education and more so the feeding programs have increased the enrollment of pastoralist children into the government schools, mainly in urban and semi-urban setups. That is much appreciated. We thank the World Food, we thank the government for that effort that they are putting into place. But education is not about structures. Education, especially among a pastoralist child, is a change of mind, it's a change of perception, so that now a nomadic child does not look at a school as a feeding program, but as a place where I'm going to make my future. And this is where we have always had problems, because enrollment has not translated into performance. And that's why you find that a child in Turkana will always perform so poorly. And more worse, a child in the nomadic setup will equally perform if at all they go to class 8 and finish that they do the exam. So pupils are just passed on from class to class because of enrollment, because the schools want to be seen working and so on and so forth. So because of time, so the new narrative, what is this new narrative that we are bringing up? So with the new narratives, we have begun a motivational centers. And these motivational centers, how do they look like? These motivation centers, we target children 1 to 7 years of age. These are children that we want to change their perception about the school. And so when we enroll them, we are targeting their parents and we are targeting the children. So we bring them to these centers, and when they come to these centers perform 3 functions. One is a play center, where these children just come to play. But the children begin playing formally, not the traditional plays, which are always something funny that you'll find that most of these children plays are all aggressive, are all plays where children use weapons, stones, sticks, and you find that these plays build some mentality into these children to become warriors, to go cattle raids and such kind of things, and that forms them to start thinking of the pastoralist kind of life, because when you are taking care of animals in the bush, you have a gun, you have weapons, and so on. So these children have begun associating with weapons, with the gun, with the stones at early age. So we bring them to a play center where we introduce them to balls, we introduce them to very soft things, so that these children begin playing and know that, instead of playing with a stick, I can play with a soft ball and enjoy the game. So we start changing the minds of these children from cruel games to more softer and better games. Number 2, these are of course feeding centers. But as feeding centers as opposed to the wild food and the other kind of feeding centers, whereby these feeding centers, these children are only fed when they do some little kind of activity, so that these children know, for me to get my lunch, I have to do ABCD. For me to get my lunch, I need to arrive to school at this time and stay up to this time. Although it's not like a militant kind of thing, we try to infuse that in a very soft way to them, for them to see, that in this life, for you to get something positive, you need to work for it. And then number 3, for those who are 4 to 7 years age, then we start introducing to them slowly education. And what we have seen from this is that we have been able to retain children as compared to the neighboring public schools. And so even the parents of these children have now moved closer to these schools, because what we have also done is that we have built water boreholes in 2 of our centers. And these centers are deep into the mountains. They are not like in the semi-urban or some kind of thing. They are really deep inside. And we always focus to have, because the pastoralists will always have a pattern of movement, and there's a route that they always use. So we get a strategic place, and then we build these centers there. So as they move, they get motivated about these centers. And because now we have water at that center, the communities have now moved close. And now, what has struck us is not us asking the community if they want us to build another classroom so that they can begin ECD classes. It is the community that is now coming up and saying, please, can you build for us a classroom for these children? So that tells us that we are beginning to change that. And the community is also beginning to see that, schools is helping our children, school is doing ABCD, so now let us ask them to at least build a classroom to help these children. Because at the end of the year, we always tell the parents, okay, now that we have come to the end of the year, we want to lay off children who are above 7 years. And then they're like, now where do you want them to go? Please, this program is good, can you retain them here? And so now there is where now we are beginning the second phase of this, like just having a simple structure and getting an ECD teacher, we are very sure that we are going to partner with the county government to see that the county government provides teachers to these institutions. Turkana County government is so overwhelmed because Turkana was really left behind, and so they are still even working to have basic structures, and you can imagine a 77 square kilometer piece of land, they still have a lot to do, and so demanding them to do all these things in at a time is a bit difficult. So that could be one of the opportunities that we could also partner with the county government, but again, they are also overwhelmed by so many things that they really need to put in place, a lot of water, boreholes, and other, which I don't want to touch on today. And so we are putting up these centers, and we are constructing these centers for transition for these children so that they are able to transit now to a more better classrooms where they are able to learn. And this, we are not saying that it's a perfect model, but it's a model which we have done a lot of research on. It's a model which we have seen in the last 2 years. It has been able to bear fruit, and it's a model that we think will be so good for a Turkana child, and more especially a nomadic Turkana girl child. Lee, how am I doing time-wise?
Yeah, if this is great, Brizan. If maybe if it works for you to sum up, and then I want to make sure that people have time to ask questions if they have any, and then split into small groups. So is it possible for you to sum up now?
Yes, just to sum up, I would say our activities that we want now to do, having given you like a background of it, is that we want to expand early child care and education, which I've just explained to it, promote learning and life skills to these children. Maybe Lee, you can go to the slide.
I'm on the desired outcomes of the center. Is that the one you want?
Let me do it down. Yeah, the desired outcome of the center, perfect. So our children should be brought up to have a good sense of self-awareness, a sound moral compass, which is so important because you find a nomadic child, because of the background that this child has gone through the hardships. You can imagine some of these children have seen their parents being killed with guns. And these are the children that have seen guns in their homes. They have guns in their homes. So this child grows up knowing that this gun that killed my father, I would one day repay somebody with this kind of a gun. So and that is why there's all this circle of cattle raids, circle of killings, and so on into the nomadic life of these children, and the necessary skills and knowledge to take challenge onto the future. And then we want to have a confident child who has a strong sense of right and wrong, is adaptable and resilient, who knows himself or herself, discerning in judgment and thinks independently and critically and communicates effectively. These are some of the challenges that children who are brought up in hard environments, like a child who is born up in a slum, is not confident about themselves. And we want a self-directed learner who takes responsibility for his or her own learning. And that's why we are introducing this at a very early age, for these children to be able to make decisions. We don't want to make decisions for these children, that we want these children to make decisions formed from their experience in this early kind of learning, that this child will be able to discern and say, yes, this is what I want. It's not what the government, it's not what other people want me to do. And then an active contributor who is able to work effectively in teams, exercise initiative, takes calculated risk, and then is innovative and strives for excellence. A concerned citizen who is rooted to the county and the country and have a strong civic consciousness, is informed and takes an active role in bettering the lives of others around him or her. And then peacekeepers, most importantly. Peacekeepers who have strive to engage and educate people around living in harmony between people of different cultures. Unless we are able to address insecurity issues in Turkana, schools will always turn to be rescue centers during cattle raids, during killings. Schools will always turn out to be feeding centers during droughts, but these schools will not translate into academic performance. These schools will not translate into a future, how do I put it, a future investment into these children. Thank you, Lee, for that. And maybe I began by not saying, why am I in this cold London? So just to take it briefly, I'm here on a fellowship program where the fellowship program brings together people who have shared innovative ideas about changing lives in their community. And one of the innovative ideas we are working on has been to see how to help a Turkana girl child, not just all the Turkana children, but how to help a Turkana girl child get educational empowerment and see what is it that can be put into place to really motivate a Turkana girl child to get education and have a say in the future and not just being used as a tool of getting wealth from the parents. Others, thank you very much, and I will be happy to respond to questions.
Great, so let's give Rizan a hand. Great, so before you divide up into small groups, is there anyone that has any questions? And feel free, folks online, to ask a question in the comment section. Jeffrey.
I have a question to our friend here regarding what he does. Do they have a peace education program for this?
I cannot hear the question.
Do you want to come up here, Jeffrey, to ask the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the speakers are here, so yeah,
okay.
Just...
So I can still ask her.
Yeah.
So my question is about peace education, because I understand that peace has been an issue in our country. And like what we are seeing in secondary schools, arson and strikes, and even in primary schools, do you have a particular program where you train these kids on peace building, and with a focus on maybe the future we need to initiate programs that bring sustainability and proper ways of conflict management in our country? Do you have a program for your kids for that? And if it is there, do you do it? Is it effective?
Did you catch that, Rizan?
Yes, I got it. Maybe just to repeat to see whether I got the question very right, is that do we have peace building initiatives in our programs and in schools?
Yes, and are they effective? How are you doing them?
Yes, and are they effective, right?
Yes.
Perfect. When I was giving the presentation, I mentioned to you that we are trying to change the perception of these children, because culturally, I grew up playing with old guns, because guns are so common in the place. I grew up playing with the sticks. I grew up playing these games where we are fighting with each other, and then the winner takes the day. So that is how a Turkana child is brought up, that most of our games are very vigorous games, are very games which are full of violence, games. So we are trying to move away from that, infiltrating into these small children peaceful, less aggressive, enjoyable kind of games, where at the end of these games, there's not a clear winner. Because one of the things that people have been, and why we have all these conflicts in schools, that somebody always wants to win. And when always winning is very good, it's very positive, but when everybody wants to win, then there's competition. And with this competition, the children will tend to use all means to win. And so for us, what we are putting into place, and not only just in our centers which we have initiated, but we also go to other schools to introduce these games to them. Like when we are having regional sports, we take these sport items to them and say, can we try this sport? Can we try this sport as opposed to this sport? And one of the key things we did last year in April during holidays, we brought together all PE schools teachers from our village, our division, just to teach them of more peaceful ways of games that these children can be taught to play. And once we start teaching these children with these soft and peaceful games, we are investing into the future. I know we have not done a lot on children in high schools, and I'm sure you heard about a high school where a fellow student just last month in Lokichojo Girls Secondary School, mixed secondary school, where a student came with a gun at night and murdered 9 students. So that tells you the kind of environment we are in, and the kind of children that we have brought, and the kind of socializing they were socialized before, that a gun is the way to go. But now we are trying to bring in these sports which are better and more or less dangerous, so that children can start adapting and changing the old games and adopting new ways of playing and learning.
Thanks, Brizan. We have a couple of questions from our online participants. Stephanie wants to know if you're open to partnerships, and something about APART, A-P-A-R-T. Are the schools under? There's a different acronym in 2 different places. APBET, and are they open to partnerships with others already in that field? That's a question from Stephanie, and after you answer that, there's one from Lucy as well.
Great. We are so much open to partnerships. That's a great thing for us, because this is not about us, this is about the community. And so if any partners will really be willing to come in, and even we are looking for volunteers, people who can volunteer maybe a week, a month, if you are on your holiday and you want to come down to Turkana to share with these children, just to stay with them, play with them, even for a month, for a week, we are so much open to all kind of partnership. If somebody even has an old reading books and old picture books, anything that you can donate, we are so much open to any kind of partnership, provided the partnership is aimed at helping these children.
And for those, so Stephanie clarified, asking if the schools are under APBET. Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay, Stephanie, can you just clarify there? And also, Stephanie was the one who asked about the partnerships. If someone wanted to get in touch with you about partnerships or volunteering, how would they do that, Brizan? Can I share your contact information on the Roundtable Facebook group as well as the online portal? Is that okay?
Yes, that is okay.
Okay, so folks, I'll put his contact information up, and once we hear from Stephanie about what APBET. Oh, is it Adult Basic Educational Training, Stephanie? You can let us know. And in the meantime, Lucy wanted to know, how can you help both the girl child and the boy child, because she understands both of them lack education? That's from Lucy. That's an online question.
Thank you, Lucy, for that question. We are looking at this not only just to empower a girl child, because to get into a boy's child, we have to empower a girl child. Remember, there's this saying when they say when you educate a girl, you have educated a whole community. And so we are also backing on that and putting in all mechanisms to try and really empower a girl child and get this child to have education. And when this girl child has this good education, the girl child will get a better job, and this girl child will not be seen, will not be used as a source of getting well to be married at an early age, but she will have a salary to support the family. And so we are trying to change that, a girl being used as a source of wealth and being married off at an early age, but a girl child going to school, getting a better education, getting a job, and supporting the family in a more sustainable way. Boy child equally, Sorry.
It's okay, Brizan. Yep, finish your thought, and then Stephanie.
Boy child equally needs this education. But now when we're talking of a boy child, it's not really like a big magnitude. It's not like a big challenge for us to get a boy child. And when I can share with you the statistics from our 3 centers that we now, 2 which are fully functioning, 1 which is just begun, you find that we have been able to ensure that we have, for example, the one in Kataboy, we have 92 girls. This is something that even has shocked even education partners in the county. How do you bring in 92 girls in one center, when even bigger schools that began 20 years ago have no these girls in their schools? And so now these are the girls, going back to the early question, that I would request any female volunteer just to come and share with them, talk to them, because some of these remote areas, people have never seen a professional, a really professional lady who comes, motivates them, tells these young children, you want to be like me, you want to have this nice earring like the one Leanne is putting on, go to school and get something, education, and buy a new earring. Just simple things. They may not look so important, but they're so good to this nomadic child. And so I don't know the answer to your question, that we are putting all these measures to ensure that both boy child, girl child get education equally, but with a special focus on a girl child.
Thanks, Brizan. And Stephanie clarified that APBET stands for Alternative Provision for Basic Education and Training, which is where the requirements are more lenient.
Very good. That partnership will be very good, especially when we talk of alternative. And alternative is one of the things that I have explained to you, what we need to motivate these children from these hard to reach areas because the modern education and the approach and the way it is being brought as an opposition to their lifestyle. So an alternative will mean that we can have something different from your pastoralism and let us move together. I think that will be a good partnership for us.
Okay.
To start working together and seeing what are these alternative means.
Great. Thanks, Brizan. I want to make sure that people have time in small groups and for the online community to chat with each other about some general questions about serving disadvantaged and vulnerable communities. Stephanie's saying she's going to be in touch once the contact information is shared, Brizan. There's an opportunity there. So just before we shift into some small group work, just want to give the space. Is there one more question, either from online folks or from people who are here in person? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to shift over. Brizan, I hope that you can stay with us.
Yes. I will be active. I want to be on the Facebook page. If there's any question or clarification, I can be answering there.
Okay.
So I wait for the discussion to come back.
Great. Okay. So here are some, up on the screen and this is from the agenda that I sent out. These are some suggested questions for your small groups, but you can discuss anything that you want. These are just mere suggestions. So one question is, how would you describe a hard to reach area or community? So what does it mean to be vulnerable, and or marginalized? What makes it difficult to serve vulnerable and marginalized communities? And what can governments and NGOs do to support people in hard to reach areas and communities? What's our role? What's the role of learning and development professionals in serving marginalized folks? And also there's a whole variety of ways to define marginalization and vulnerability. It might be because of gender, because of isolation, because of literacy, because of physical ability issues, because of, it could be a whole variety of things, gender-based violence, etc. So you may wish to divide up according to talking about a specific type of vulnerable community. So folks are in 2 groups right now. Let's just have a real quick discussion with the people who are physically present. Is there one particular question that you want to discuss? And then we'll see if folks want to join you. I'm hoping this process, I don't want to spend half an hour on getting folks into groups. I'm hoping it'll happen quickly. And then for the folks online, once these guys get sorted, then we can have a chat. So is there a particular question that lights you up and you're particularly curious about? What makes it difficult? Okay, what makes it difficult for governments and NGOs? Okay, okay. So if you're interested in that topic, if you want to join, is there anyone else who wants to chat about that? Join Janet? Okay. Claire, you want to join Janet? Okay. And what's another topic that someone's interested in talking about? No, for the online folks, I don't have your comments up on my screen right now. So if you're commenting, I'll get to you in just a moment. Is there any other topic? Or do you want to just decide? Maybe Claire and Janet, if you two come together, and then if you want, if you two just want to, you can figure out on your own which questions you want to talk about, and the two of you can. Does that work okay?
Sure.
Okay. So it is 11:20 in the East African time zone. So you've got about a half an hour to chat, and then we'll come together at the end, maybe 25 minutes. And then at the end of that time, we'll come together as a large group, and you can mention a couple of highlights of the things that you talked about, and then we'll close for the day. Okay? Okay, so for the online folks, I'm shifting over here. Okay, so Brizanne, I see that you added, did I add local element discussion? Tell me more about that, Brizanne. What do you mean?
No, because I saw in the response somebody says, "Thank you so much, Lohoel, for answering my question." Then I was asking, was Lohoel added?
Oh, how do I scroll down here? For the folks online, I'm just learning how to use this. I can't see all the comments right now. They've doesn't seem to give me the option. Yeah, it doesn't seem to.
Yeah, it
it's not
doesn't bring
clickable.
all
Or just go back
the comments.
and click on the that, yeah.
Yeah, but if I click on that, I think
No,
it's
not
gonna.
that one.
Or maybe if I
Click on the roundtable and
see where.
the
I'm a little nervous. I don't want the video to stop. Anyways, I didn't add anybody. People. Oh, do you mean as a participant? Like do you mean to the group, Brizanne?
He's Lohoel, Peter Lohoel was the former deputy governor for Turkana County.
Uh-huh.
And so he has been very, very passionate about this project, and that's why I told him that we shall be having this discussion. And so I'm sorry I never told you early so that we could have added him.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
yeah,
it's
very, very.
Yeah.
He's one person who has worked with Oxfam.
Okay.
And they were part of an alternative form of education for nomadic pastoralists.
Oh, I see. So, okay. The Facebook group is a private group, so just feel free if that person wants to join, just share the link with them, and more than happy to add them. So for folks online, I'm hoping you can see some of those questions. They're in the agenda, so you can scroll down in the other comments. I know the people. The people who are alive, who are all looking, you guys can have your own conversation, it's okay. So feel free to, if someone wants to start a discussion on, how to reach, any of those questions that I'm putting my mouse on here. How do you describe a hard to reach area? What does it mean to be vulnerable or marginalized? We've got 5 people online right now. Welcome, Maureen and Anita and others that are online right now. If there's a particular question you want to answer, feel free. Anita, I know you have a lot of experience working with really marginalized communities. If you have any comment or question there, feel free. Anybody? Or if you have other questions for Brizan, feel free to ask him.
I wanted to ask Brizan about the he for she.
Mm-hmm.
How do they ensure that they include in their program? Because we live in a patriarchal society. At the end of the day,
I think he answered that question in the last one, right? They're really focusing on girls. Yeah, yeah.
how do they explain that?
Anybody have a question for Brizan or talk about your experience of, oh, there we go. Hi, Deborah. So how many schools are we looking at that still need to be enticed into these school programs, Brizan?
The number of schools depends on the available resources. Our overall objective was like by the end of this year, at least we have 5 model centers. And having these 5 model centers, so far we have 2, which I can share the details about these centers and all photos and information about these centers. And so we have one that children are still, it's just like a collection center that they just meet on every morning, play, have lunch, and then they leave in the evening. Unfortunately, they are still using under a big tree. So we are hoping to have a building for them there so that at least they are safe and it's a good building. And so how many schools we're looking at? Our target is to have 5 centers every year.
To add 5 centers a year, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It is too ambitious, but that's what we aim at. But anything in the course between 3 to 5 is something that will help us reach our target.
What's the population of Turkana, Brizan?
The population of Turkana, the whole of Turkana, is roughly between 600 to 1 million people.
Okay, okay. And it looks like Deborah might have another question. Feel free to type that out, Deborah, if you like. And also know that, so I will definitely be sharing Brizan's contacts. And also I'll put his PowerPoint presentation, if that's okay, Brizan. I'll put that up in the Facebook group as well as on the online portal. Deborah Lee wants to know, what is your biggest resource that you would need to know?
Thank you, Deborah, for that question. One of our biggest resources we are looking at is partnerships. Partnership is our biggest resource because through partnerships, we are able to get somebody who can donate a class to us. We are able to get volunteers who can come down and be with the children. We can get partners who can support us with the play items and play materials. So in terms of resource, the biggest resource is in 2 resources, of course, finance to put up these buildings, and 2, human resource for people to volunteer a time, a day, or a 2, or a week, just to come and be with these children and just play with them and understand them.
When you say children, Brizan, what ages are you working with? And is there a particular age that you found is important to focus on in terms of creating these social changes?
Yes, we have an age of 1 to 7 years. That was our primary target because we wanted to get this child of 1 year to start socializing this child in a more friendly, in a more school-friendly way. And then from there, this child grew because we are trying to disconnect this child to the traditional ways of socializing, ways of growth and mentality, to a more modern, to a more peaceful, to a more progressive ways of thinking. And we can only do that by targeting these children who are 1 year, so that as young as they are introduced to a kind of a system that it will be difficult for them to change and to go back to the old system. And so we targeted 1 to 7 years, but when you come to our centers, you will find a child of 10 years. This child of 10 years, these are very vulnerable children. These are children we have rescued from nomadic pastoralist families. You find that some of these families, as they are moving, the aged are left behind, some of at least the older children, because the aged cannot move. And then with the time, if this aged person passes on, then this child is left vulnerable. This child cannot trace where the parents are, because these are vast, arid piece of land, and the parents have no communication guards, they have nothing. So some of these children, it is so sad to note that some of these children, the nomadic setups, lose their parents for good. They never meet their parents. And so we have like 16 children in our 3 centers that have not seen their parents for the last 4-5 years.
Wow.
So,
And
yeah, so those are the children that we also put into the system.
And Brizan, have you thought about or considered doing any training of trainers, like training older youth, like teenagers, to work with the young children?
That will be a very good, and it, not even just the older youth, because we are an organization that is just coming up, and we have no resources like to employ qualified child caretakers. So what we are doing at the moment is we are taking the community people to come and be with these children. These people have no academic qualification, have no bigger qualification to take care of these children, but because of limited of resources, we are forced to take the people from the community at least who have a high school certificate, a class 8 certificate, who can read and write. So such kind of a training, even to our staff, will be very, very welcome. So that somebody can come, train our staffs on how to take care of children, on hygiene, on play items, because even them, some of our staffs are not used to these modern play items. For them, they were brought up with the old play items. So just somebody coming to train these children, these staffs, like we can assemble all the staffs at one center. One person comes, trains them on hygiene, on how to take care of children, or especially on how to take care of mental health of these children who have not seen their parents for 5-6 years. So these are some of the children who need even guidance, not just food and education, but they also need some guidance, some counseling, and to support them.
Okay, thank you. And Stephanie asked another question. Brizan, since the communities are nomadic, are you looking at basic boarding facilities to ensure uninterrupted education, or mobile schools?
Thank you, Stephanie. At the moment, due to resources, our overall objective, because a brief history of how we began. We began with the nomadic schools. And when we began with the nomadic schools, we bought donkeys. And so a teacher could move with this donkey together with the families that were migrating. And every time the family were resting under a tree, this teacher could initiate a small lesson for these children plus their parents as they take care of animals. And when they want to move to another mountain, this teacher with the donkey could move with them. But again, we looked at this and then we evaluated and said, what is the end result of this? Where are we headed with this kind of education? Yes, we are educating them. They are just getting education because the teacher is there. What happens when this teacher goes? What happens when we will not have resource to facilitate this teacher? What happens when this donkey gets tired and die on the way? So that's why now we said we want to have like a permanent centers that will target these children, and most importantly, encourage parents of these children to move closer to these centers. And one of the things we have done, because we did not have resources to have a boarding school, what we did was, because we discovered that the biggest problem why women and children have to move is because of water. And so in our centers, we have drilled water boreholes so that women and children are able to live closer by to the center as men go looking for animals. So that now, with this strategy, we have targeted these women and children at these places. Our future goal, of course, we need a boarding facility. And it is sad to say that these children, these 16 children I mentioned, who have not seen their parents, they sleep in these classrooms. At night, they sleep here. In the morning, they roll their sheets, put them in a store, and then we convert it into a classroom because they have nowhere to go. And we don't want them to go start disturbing neighbors and other places because they will be frustrated and they will go into the bush and we don't know where they will go because they even don't know where their parents are. So even if we can have a small boarding facilities, even just for these children, to begin with these children who are still looking for their parents and so motivated to learn, they can have a place to stay as we think of a bigger boarding facilities for all the children, and that will be able to increase the retention of these children.
Thanks, Stephanie, for that question, and thank you, Brizan. Any other questions or comments from folks online? We've got about 10 more minutes or so, just under 10 minutes more of conversation in the small groups before we bring it back to the large groups. Just while you're thinking about that, I really want to thank all the folks online. It's so exciting to be able to connect. I mean, we've got people, you know,
it's really good.
Yeah,
really taken active role in the
yeah, it's amazing. And to the folks online, know that this was completely initiated by Brizan. He emailed me, I think when I had sent out an invitation to a roundtable one time and asked about doing a session on serving pastoralist children. So, you know, thank you very much for initiating this. That's super, super great. So Deborah asks a question here. Who do we drop off items? So assuming you mean items to donate, Deborah, who would they give them to if people wanted to donate items, Brizan? How would we get them to you?
I think there are two questions there. Where do you drop them and how do they get to us? Lee, I don't know because I'm not based in Nairobi. We are based up in the north. I don't know whether you can help us. Your compound, so you have a nice compound somewhere to have like a bin, a big thing where we can be dropping things in it, and then once we have things have been collected, we see how we can transport them to Lodwar.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to initiate that. Deborah, if you want to contact me offline, if you've got things to donate, yeah, I'd be happy to hold on to things. And then, you know, I know you're in London for a couple more months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, yeah, so we can sort that out. So if anyone wants any donations, to donate anything, just contact Brizan and I, and we'll sort it out. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And so once they are collected and they are enough for transport, when I'm passing by going to Lodwar, I can pick them and go with them.
Okay.
That's very, very much appreciated.
Yeah, and Deborah's asking, yeah, so things like books and writing material, yeah, and Deborah's saying, yeah, we can discuss that. So yeah, that would be exciting. It would be really lovely to be able to do that. Yeah.
And even things like plates, cups.
Okay, maybe you could.
Anything somebody can really want to donate, or I can make for you a list of what are the things we need, and then.
Yeah. If you can, after our conversation is finished, Brizan, if you want to leave a comment in the chat function there of the things that you're looking for, then I can share that with the other people too. Because when I send out the email, it goes out to. It's over 500 people now, our mailing list. I think it's like 550 people. So the Facebook the Facebook group is not that large. I think we have, I don't know, 100 people or so. So if you put it in the Facebook Live comment function, then I'll copy it. And the next time I send an email, I'll send it out to the entire group. And we'll see what we can do. Thanks for initiating that, Deborah. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And then, Lee, kindly please, one of the appeal we will be making, just to repeat what we had said, if we can get somebody, I know it's very difficult at this time of the year, somebody who has worked with children and would like to come and train our local staffs to how to take care of these children, that will really, really be happy to organize and host such a person to come and do
Yeah.
such kind of trainings.
Yeah, I think too, if you put that, what you're looking for, put that in the comment function as well. And then I can comment, or I can copy that rather and add that to the email distribution. And I know Stephanie, it looked like she was interested in exploring a partnership. So, Stephanie encouraged you and Brizan to connect. And yeah, Brizan, feel free to put your contact information there too. And then again, I can copy that into the email. So if you want to put your email, your Skype address, you can put your Facebook, however you want people to contact you, just put it in a comment. So that's 3 things so far. Your contact information, things that would be helpful to be donated, and I just blanked on the 3rd one. What was it? Things to donate, your contact information, and what was the 3rd thing we talked about? My mind has just gone to mush all of a sudden. Claire also has a question here.
Yes, please.
Hi, Rizan. I'm interested to know. Obviously, that you're probably using the local languages when you do this work with young children. And is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. But we are introducing them to Swahili and English.
Even at a young age. Yeah.
Yes, at young age.
Yeah. Okay. And the reason for that?
The reason for that is that we want to have quality education. Yeah. And as I said, we are moving away from things that remind our children, that things that associates them to these cultural practices, things that associate them to this, and moving them into a modern thinking, because our focus is not just to have centers for fooding, but looking at quality education. And for these students to have a quality education and to be able to compete with the rest of Kenya, they need to start speaking Swahili and English at an early age, so that they are also able to communicate globally.
Yeah, and that's a time of openness to learning languages. So.
Yes. And so, but again, we focus on Swahili and English at the age of 5.
Yeah.
The age of 1 to 4, these children just come.
In their home
the only socialization they are socialized, the modern, is playing with the very soft games and such kind of things, and just seeing like a formal kind of structure, that there is a formal, you come, you enter into a building, a bell is rung, you get out, a bell is rung, you come in, trying to put them into like, I will equate it to how people train a dog to do something. So, so these children, we are trying to not to like ABCD teaching, that trying to condition them at an early age.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So
thank you for that question.
It's about 1:45 now. So I'm just gonna draw the attention of the small groups and bring your attention back to the large group. If you can just finish up that last chat, and I would be interested to hear from folks as we spend the next 15 minutes closing. What were some of the things that you talked about? What were some themes that came up in your small groups?
Okay, we discussed how would you describe a hard-to-reach area, and some of the things that came up was lack of infrastructure, and then also healthcare. A healthy community is able to go about their businesses. Then also access to information.
If folks online can just give an indication that you can hear us okay, that when people are, other than myself, are speaking, they're a little further away from the speakers, just let us know if you're having trouble hearing.
And then, a hard-to-reach area is an area that doesn't have access to information. And that's the isolated economically, socially, politically, and they also they don't have access to the basics like food, water, medicine, and shelter, and also their lifestyle. In the case of
Lee, can I, sorry to interrupt, can I increase the size of my live so that I hear it as opposed to Skype?
Can you, sorry, Brisan, can you what?
It is easier for me to hear on Facebook Live than on Skype. I had muted my Facebook Live, so can I put it sound on or it will affect your end?
Do you have headphones, Brisan? If possible.
Okay,
yeah, so when you turn it on, we get feedback. I hear myself talking a second after. But if you happen to have headphones, you can try that. But otherwise, what we'll do is maybe the person who's speaking just comes closer to the speaker.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we in our group we described the hard-to-reach areas as areas which lack infrastructure. In this case, healthcare, education, and other things. They also do not have access to information that's isolated economically, socially, politically, and they also do not have basics. In this case, food, water, medicine, and shelter, and also their lifestyles. In this, from a presentation, we've learned about how the pastoralists go in search of food for their livestock. So for the other people, they'll not be able to access them because they move from one place to another. And while they're doing that, we're able to try to describe who the marginalized are. It's marginalized is that it's a verb where you treat a person as insignificant, powerless, or unimportant.
Great point. Yeah. Wow, great. Well done. Well done, you two. Anyone else want to join me up here and just talk a little bit about what you chatted about?
We chatted about the same.
So this is Paris. She's making her way up closer. And by the way, as she's coming up here, I just really want to thank those of you online, as we sort out this technology, as well as those of you in person who are getting used to these Facebook Lives. So I know it's as we work with this. Okay.
So we chatted about the same question about the marginalized and how hard it is to reach them, and you came up with the same points. But we also talked about the assumptions as a community, where we think certain marginalized communities are hard to reach places, but they're also very close, accessible places that we don't take the information that they need. And this came up because last night on the news, there was FGM happening down the road in Embu. In general, it doesn't look like it's a marginalized community, but it is. So there's a lot of assumptions happening.
So marginalization wears a lot of different faces.
In different
faces and places, yeah.
And then we also talked about religion, people not accepting certain things, and beliefs. So people don't believe in certain things. So it doesn't matter whether you go in and offer the information. And then the other thing we talked about is empowerment. So we go with the assumption that we know better than the community, but we need to go and tell them, this is what we think, what do you think about it? It's a conversation, empowering them.
Collaboration, yeah. Good community development, great. Thanks, Paris. Okay, so this is Janet. As she's coming up, just want to acknowledge, hi, Stephen. Hi, other folks who are online. It's just so great to have you. Okay.
So yeah, for us, we were discussing what makes it difficult for NGOs and government. We felt like it's hard for the vulnerable people. When we help them once, they'll always want you there to help them. They want to think for themselves. They want you always to be there for them to do something. Then we felt like they feel like most vulnerable people think they should have the formal education, the 844 curriculum, which for him, he's doing for the kids for playing, he's doing the informal, the alternative education. So we felt like for most NGOs, they are focused on the curriculum, which really won't help them. just informing for them information, and they need information that they can apply for future. They can apply to make them better people. So we felt like, yeah.
So things need to be contextualized, they need to
Yeah.
fit, they need to grow from the community. Yeah, great. Okay. Thanks, Lucy. Lucy's saying great discussion, guys. Anyone from online want to add anything? Josephine, can I just ask you to do that? Okay, I'll try to keep an eye out in case there's any other comments there. Okay, well, as we slide into closing for the day, I want to extend a really special thank you to Brizan for getting up 3 hours earlier than us and being present. And his passion and his dedication to his community is really admirable, and it's really what stuck in my mind and my heart when he sent the email. And just to let you know that he completely initiated this session. So he sent an email saying, hey, could we have a session on working with pastoralist children? So we kind of worked that out together. So for those of you online and those of you here in present, if you have ideas of topics, please shoot me an email and let's talk, as I set up the sessions for next year. So let's give Brizan a round of applause. It's so great, so great.
Enjoy your fellowship.
Yes, enjoy your fellowship, and may it not be too cold.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Just one question.
Josephine's having a question here.
Yeah, we were discussing that with Audrey, that in our effort of empowering the girl child, how we not marginalize the boy child in the process?
So something to think about is, as we empower girl children, how to not marginalize boy children. I think that's a topic for another gender roles. Yeah. Okay, so just going quickly as we finish up through the agenda here, obviously the people online are members of the Facebook group. If those present are not members of the Facebook group, feel free. I tend to share information there more quickly, so it's a way to get information. It is a private group, so just click on the link and I'll add you as soon as I see your request. We have a bunch of resources online. There's a database of icebreakers and needs and assessments and all of those contact lists. And we're in our 5th year now, I think we're just about finishing our 5th year of meeting. So we've got 5 years of meeting resources there. If you want to look through that, that's always, keep that up to date. In closing, anybody online or physically present, do you have any events that you want to share, anything happening in your community that you want to let us know about? Nothing? Okay. We have one item back from the lending library, so if you want to borrow that, just let me know and I'll sign you up. Still have not found the unlearn cards, so I'm going to take a picture of them because I just want, they're our most expensive resource, and they're also our most popular one, and they've been missing for a really long time. So I have not lost faith. I'm really hoping we can find those. Please, if you haven't had a chance to donate or sign the cards, to those of you who are in the room with me, we have 3 thank you cards to the 3 people who helped get us onto the compound here. If you haven't had a chance to donate, maybe just send that envelope around once more, or send an M-Pesa. Thank you. And remember that I'm hoping on Monday I'll send out the notice for the next meeting, which is only in 2 weeks, because this one was delayed because of the election. And we're having Anne Miltenberg speak. She's a branding expert for social change agents. So I've been trying to get her for about a year now. So excited about her coming. So watch for that notice. And also there'll be a link to the, and Brizan, this might be very, very interesting for you. Keep your ears open here. The portal, the link
to fill in a form to nominate an organization to receive the funds that we've raised. So once a year, all the money that's left over after paying for the badges, the UN badges, that all of that money gets donated. And we do that once a year. So I'll have that form up and running. Just click on it if you know someone. If you know someone that would like to have the donation, Rizan, you might be interested in filling out that form.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I'm hoping at the next meeting then, because people have 2 weeks to nominate an organization, and then at the next meeting we'll vote and decide who gets those donations. November 17th is our last meeting for this year. There's no meeting in December. January 19th we'll have a networking meeting. So if you have an idea or a feeling about the 2 suggestions I made, just let me know. And then February 16th, we're having Ilya and Anita. Anita was online at some point. I don't know if she's still there. And possibly another person. They're going to talk about working with people who've experienced trauma. And what do we need to know as learning and development people about working people with trauma? And they do a ton of work. They've done work in India. They do work in South Sudan. They're super skilled. They do amazing, amazing work. Really, really lucky to have them. So that's Great. A little bit about coming up. In just a second, we're going to click save on the video. So know that this Facebook Live video lives in the Facebook group, and you can watch it at any time. So you just need to search through the videos, and so each meeting, we're going to Facebook Live, and it lives in there. So you don't have to watch it live if that timing doesn't work for you. Thank you so much. We're on the cusp of a weekend. May it be happy and healthy and fun, and thank you so much for coming, and thank you to everybody online. We so appreciate your time and being with us. And thank you, Brizan. Enjoy the rest of your day in London. May it not be too cold. Hope your shuka keeps you warm. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much for organizing this. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, my pleasure, my pleasure. Thanks, Brizan, and bye-bye.
All right.
Okay, thanks everyone online. We'll watch the chat there and see if there's any last questions. Oops. See if there's any last questions. But right now we're going to click off the live and save the video, and it will be posted. Thanks everybody. Bye Deborah. Bye Lucy. Bye everyone else online.